Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the November 2022 Superintendent Webcast. We have a really full agenda for you today, so we'll jump right in. Tony's going to cover some communications updates. We have Robin Kinney on just with some information around ARP and ESSER funding. We have new information coming out about reporting and record keeping around that. Robin needs to cover it with you. We've got our friends from the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet on to talk about lead sampling, a lead sampling program available to you. We'll have folks from our Office of Special Education and Early Learning to talk about some of the work that they're doing. We have Rob Smith and some of the folks from our co-op partners to talk about deeper learning and the work that they're doing in that area in the state. And we'll end up with any questions anybody has. So without any further ado, we do have a full agenda, so we're going to jump right in. Tony, let me turn things to you for some comms updates.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. First of all, I wanted to just remind everybody where we are with our United We Learn vision. We, about 2 weeks ago, announced the names of about 70 people who have been asked to serve on the new Kentucky United We Learn Council. Their first meeting will actually be in 2 weeks. It's hard to believe. There's been a lot of planning. So they will be here in Frankfort at the Sauer Building on the 29th and the 30th. Both of those meeting dates will be live streamed on the KDE Media portal. I have had a lot of calls asking about that. So you will be able to tune in to the Kentucky United We Learn Council via the portal that you're listening right now. This council supports the 3 big ideas of United We Learn, and which is the state's vision for the future of public education in the state. And we invite you to participate in this work with us by following us on our social media platforms and also using the United We Learn KY hashtag. Commissioner and I and Patrice McCreary, our Kentucky Board of Education member, were delighted to be in Owensboro Independent last week. We were able to surprise a 3rd grade teacher, Charlotte Buskell, at Newton Parish Elementary School with $25,000. Always nice to travel with the Milk and Family Foundation folks. It was a great ceremony. A huge shout out to Owensboro Independent for your help with all of the planning. As many people know, this is a top secret process, and I think that we delivered the surprise pretty well with the Lieutenant Governor, the Commissioner, and lots of other dignitaries that were there. Also want to announce that Owensboro Innovation Academy has been decided, I can't get my words out. They will be representing Kentucky in the 2022 National Christmas Display. We selected them from a variety of schools that had submitted interest, and the press release from the National Park Service went out yesterday. You will see there on the graphic some of the little designs that the students put together, and we'll be working on putting up a slideshow with more of those ornaments that you can see. You can also visit, if you are going to be in the DC area, the tree lighting is taking place the first week of December, and there will be opportunities to see all of the ornaments on Kentucky's tree near the White House. Also wanted to let everyone know this is a really sweet story out of the Kentucky School for the Blind. Anthony, student, had wanted to have an accessible playground, worked with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and earlier this week we had the kind of grand opening for this playground. As many of your districts know, you have many students who attend the Kentucky School for the Blind, so really an exciting moment for everyone and for the kids to actually be able to start playing on that new playground. Our nominations for 2024 Kentucky Teacher of the Year are open. We started this process a little bit sooner this year than before, hoping to get a little bit of a jump on it. You can go to the website and you can nominate a teacher now. And last year we were able to get nominations from every single school district in Kentucky, and we certainly hope that we are able to do the same this year. I will keep you updated as we get closer to the deadline to let you know which counties have submitted nominations and which districts have not, and hopefully we can get all those in again this year. Also wanted to let you know that the Kentucky Board of Education's 2022 Kevin C. Brown Award nominations for that are open for about another week until November 21st. The award is named for Kevin C. Brown, who served at the Department of Education in various roles, most recently as interim commissioner. This year's award will recognize a person, group, organization, district, school, or post-secondary institution who through policy and practice has made it a top priority to champion United We Learn. So those links will be on your PowerPoint when I get that over to you, and you can also go onto our website and nominate folks there. Wanted to give a little bit of an update. I know, and I've gotten so many videos, and I'm just going to be honest, I did not have time to put them all together. So please, 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 I have heard from, I think, Knott County, Jefferson County, Fulton County, Anderson, Woodford, and a few others. And I am working on putting this together, and I really appreciate our superintendents for participating in this project. We simply asked you, how do you know your COVID-19 recovery efforts were having an impact on students and families? And we'll be putting together some videos to share with you on future superintendent webcasts and also on social media. But I want to just say thank you to everyone who has already sent those in. And then next, I will toss off to Robin Kinney.
Thank you, Tony. It took me just a minute to get my camera working. It's a pleasure to be with you today. If you'll go on to the first slide, please, Tony. We're going to talk today a little bit about two things, actually, ARP ESSER components and how they all need to be in alignment with each other. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about CARES late liquidation. Next slide, please. So it seems like so long ago that we were first talking about district ARP ESSER plans. So we're going to do a little bit of a refresher so we kind of set the context for this. But if you think about it, it's been at least about a year ago that we were talking about the ESSER plan and the three big components, which were your spending plan and budget, your LEA ARP ESSER plan narrative, and your safe return to in-person instruction plan. As KDE has started just generally with monitoring and overview of documentation with our districts in the first two pots of money from ESSER, we thought it would be a good idea to get ahead of some things that are going to happen with ARP ESSER as it relates to these three components. So we are going to perform an annual alignment check at this time to ensure that your three components of your plans continue to align. We've actually started some of this, and we've done a little bit of spot check with a few districts, and we're seeing some misalignment. And so we'd like your help in trying to get us all back in alignment on your three plans in your district. We are asking you to update all three components of your ARP ESSER plan. For those of you that they are still good and no changes need to be made, we'll still ask you to take a few steps with us, but you won't have to do that. But we are seeing some misalignment. We want to correct it at this time so you stay in compliance with ARP ESSER. We are going to ask you to move two components into GMAP, and that is your ARP ESSER plan narrative and your safe return to in-person instruction plan. Those two documents were initially provided to us through an email process, and we're going to ask you as you review these things to put them in GMAP. We also need to ensure that the district web links that you're required to keep posted on your own district websites are correct and accessible. Again, as we're going out and kind of spot checking your web links, we're seeing broken links, or we're seeing the links don't actually connect and go to the plan narrative or the safe return in-person instruction plan. So we're going to ask you to help us with this sort of annual alignment check. Next slide, please. We have provided this same presentation to your finance officers. We actually talked to them at a finance officer webcast on November 3rd. So they've had this information for a little bit, but we still have a fairly quick turnaround for you to update your components and load them into GMAP. We are asking that to be done by November 28th. And we are also encouraging districts to have all the members of your team at the table as you review. We know that many districts have different parts of their district that have worked on either the plan or the budget or the in-person instruction plan. And so it's really important that you get all those folks around the table as you review these three components together. Again, we're looking for alignment and making sure that the work you're doing right now is accurately reflected in your plan, your budget, and your safe return to in-person instruction. You will upload your plan narrative and your safe return to in-person instruction into GMAP. You're going to update your budget because that's already in GMAP. So you just need to make sure that everything's in sync. And then also provide in GMAP those URLs where your plan narrative and your safe return to in-person instruction are posted. And then that will allow us to easily run a report to show where all those links are, and we can easily check to make sure they're still in place. Next slide, please. So what's going to happen after you review all your documents, make sure they're all in alignment with each other, the narrative and the budget sync with each other, and it's cohesive. Then Title I consultants here at KDE are going to review your information. So they're actually going to go into GMAP and they're going to look to make sure your narratives align with your budget and that you have your URL links and that you have your safe return to in-person instruction plan. And our goal always is to help you remain in compliance. They'll be looking at very similar to as they look at other federal title programs. They'll be looking at, are your amounts reasonable, necessary, and allocable? And they will start their review of your plans on November 28th. There will be system-generated emails from GMAP that will come to you. So instead of you trying to watch for a review or approval or comment emails from people across the department, you'll just watch for that email at the bottom of this slide, and that's where feedback will come to you to make sure that you're in alignment and in compliance. Next slide, please. If you have any questions about uploading into GMAP, how GMAP works, we've got a contact name there for you, Jennifer Baker, in my office, the Office of Finance and Operations. If you have questions about what our Title I consultants will be looking at as they review your district plans and those different components, David Melanti from the Office of Continuous Improvement and Support will be available to help you. Next slide, please. Now let's switch. We're going to talk about a different pot of money. This time we're going to talk about ESSER 1, and that is from the CARES Act. Next slide, please. And give you just a few updates on where we are with ESSER 1. First of all, let's all give ourselves a pat on the back. We've survived the first grant award period. September 30th of 2022 was the end of the performance period. That is when ESSER funds had to be obligated. And so we have passed that, and we are now in the part where we're in the liquidation period. These are just some key dates to keep in mind as you move along. You'll see November 18th, which is this Friday, is quickly approaching. That is the deadline that we have here at KDE for your final ESSER 1 federal cash request to come in. We will then, after we receive all of your federal cash requests, then we will process those internally, and we have to have all of our things tied up into a bow to US Ed by January 23rd, 2023. However, you'll see this last line that we're going to spend some of the rest of this presentation talking about. You'll see something that we've added at the bottom, and it is a possible liquidation extension of 14 months through April 1st of 2024. And we'll talk about that as we continue in the presentation. Next slide, please. Before we get to that late liquidation, let's go back and talk about funds being obligated by September 30th of 2022. Because before we can talk about the possibility of any extensions or whether districts even need that, it is important to recognize that ESSER 1 funds have to be obligated by September 30th, 2022. And this chart you've seen before, your finance officers have seen before. It just really helps you to understand when that obligation is made based upon whether you're talking about acquisition of property, personal services, travel. There's just a few items that are listed to give you those examples to make sure your obligation has been properly made. Next slide, please. And then always, when we're talking about federal funds, we're talking about allowable expenditures. So probably it would be remiss if I went a single presentation without us talking about making sure that the use of your funds are to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, the allowable expenditures have to be necessary and reasonable under the Uniform Grant Guidance. And does the use of your funds fall under one of the authorized uses of ESSER funds? And we've put in that FAQ from USAID that gives you all those activities. But of course, we know a lot of those include social, emotional, and mental health supports, learning loss supports, technology supports. Of course, there's lots of broad activities that you could use your funds for them to be eligible. Next slide, please. So now that we have reviewed sort of the eligible expenditures and making sure we have an obligation in place, I'm going to ask you to think back to several webcasts ago in the springtime where we had received a letter from USAID about possible late liquidation of ARP ESSER funds. In that letter, and we've included the link just as a refresher, the letter urged districts to continue to act with urgency when using your ESSER dollars. It discouraged the use of ARP ESSER funds for new construction. It reminds again of that overall purpose of the ESSER program. And it kind of told us that there may be a possibility for late liquidation, but told us that they would be considered closer to the end of the obligation period. Again, that's September 30th of 2022. Next slide, please. So let's fast forward to September 29th, 2022, exactly one day before the obligation period expired. We received another letter from USAID, and it gave us some more information about the opportunity to request a late liquidation period. At this time, it is only for the CARES Act, so it's only funds from that first pot of money, and it gave us a process by which we could, KDE could request for late liquidation on behalf of districts. This may foreshadow the future processes for ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER, but there's no guarantee. Since the date of that September 29th letter, KDE has been listening to webcasts from USAID and from our partners at CCSSO. We've been asking questions about the process, and we have been awaiting FAQs from USAID that would give us further guidance. We actually met with USAID yesterday, and the FAQs are not available just yet, so we're still waiting on those. So next slide. So there is a process to request late liquidation. KDE must request the extension on behalf of itself and districts. At this time, I will share with you that based upon our records here at KDE, 97% of both state and local dollars from ESSER 1 have already been reimbursed. So it appears there's a very small percentage or small amount of dollars that are still unexpended at this time, and we are in the usual liquidation period. So we still have time, a little bit of time for those reimbursement requests to still come rolling in. If there is a need for a request of late liquidation, then we will work with the districts and we'll ask you to do the following things. If you can go to the next slide, please. If you are one of the districts that thinks you are going to need late liquidation, that is an additional amount of time on top of the normal liquidation period, we're going to ask you to call Thelma Hawkins as soon as possible, or you can reach out directly to me to discuss your need. If you need that late liquidation, we will ask you to provide certain documentation and we'll work through that request for you. If you just need more time to submit your final federal cash request by Friday, November 18th, contact Ken Green. And if you need more time, we can be a little more flexible on that because that is a KDE internal deadline. Next slide, please. Finally, just a few reminders on disposition of ESSER 1 funded items because we have finished the obligation period. If you do have certain property and equipment that have been acquired with ESSER funds, please make sure they are appropriately insured, and you must consult with KDE before disposing of any of your items. This is very familiar to your title programmatic people. They're very familiar with this process, but please reach out to us if you have any questions. Next slide, please. I think that's all we have. I've put some email addresses in there. Again, Thelma Hawkins, if you need late liquidation, Ken Green, if you need that request for the final cash reimbursement request. Also names of Karen Worth, my budget director, and myself, and we'll be happy to help you. That's all I have for today. I appreciate the time to spend with you and get you updated on both ARP ESSER and ESSER 1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. A lot of information to process through. Robin will have to step off. She has a matter to attend to, but if there are questions about that, which I'm sure there will be, we'll make sure that we follow up with everyone and get those answered. Tony.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to let the superintendents know that I just resent the Q&A for the Google form. I had a few emails and text messages. So if you check your email, you should have the link for the Q&A in there at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. And again, if there are any technical questions about the information that Robin presented, we'll collect those. She won't be on to answer those this afternoon, but we will get those answered and send the answers out to everyone via email. Next up, we've got our friends from the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet to talk about a lead sampling program. Are y'all on?
Yes, I'm here, Gabriel Tanner.
Go right ahead, Gabriel. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you all again for having us on. We actually came on about this time last year and presented on this program, but at that time the program was still very much in development. So we asked to be on again today. Now that the program is kind of more at the launch stage, we wanted to get the opportunity for everyone to find out a little bit more about the program and how to potentially sign up. So there's kind of 3 topics we'll talk about today. A quick refresher on what exactly our WIN grant program is, how to sign up, and then what are the benefits to schools that participate. All right, so back in 2016, EPA passed, or the federal government passed the Water Infrastructure Improvements Act for the nation. Basically, one of the components of that program is it awarded states an amount of money to set up a voluntary lead sampling program for schools and child cares. And the basis of the program is to utilize the 3 T's for reduced lead in drinking water in schools and child care facilities. That was a program developed by EPA to assist schools and child cares who wanted to learn and get information on sources of lead and health effects of lead, as well as options of testing and then potentially taking action, and then some communication information as well. All right, so Kentucky's program, like I said, it's a lead reduction program, but we kind of call it the WIN grant program here. But so Division of Water was awarded the WIN grant funds by EPA to coordinate the statewide voluntary lead program for schools and child cares. The funds can be used for 100% covers lead sampling. It also offers educational and remediation guidance opportunities. Division of Water, we have partnered with Kentucky Rural Water Association to help assist in performing the sampling. One of the prioritization aspects of the program is to look at schools in disadvantaged areas, for example, low-income areas where maybe schools have reduced or free lunch programs. It focuses on elementary schools and child care facilities with children with age 6 and under, and facilities that were built prior to 1986. I just want to make sure that saying that that's not the only facilities that are allowed to sample in this program, but those are just kind of prioritized under the grant. Again, it utilizes the 3 T's program developed by EPA. And so the goals of the program here in Kentucky is to provide opportunities for educational materials for schools, child care facilities, parents, just anyone in the community who might be interested, provide remediation guidance for potential lead levels found in schools, and then again, just kind of assisting in making sound decisions by schools and child cares based on sampling. So the education materials are available. Like I said, it's designed to be useful for audiences, whether it's schools, child cares, and school administrators, and public water systems. We also are going to provide a useful guidance material to increase participation. So if a school is interested and wants to participate, but wants to get a little more information on whether they might consider themselves more at risk, we have that opportunity to offer that material. And then again, offering alternatives for immediate operational assistance, short-term and long-term remediation. So for example, flushing plans, replacements of fixtures, things like that. And we'll go a little bit more in detail in the next slide. So the way the sampling works is if you go to our website, you'll actually see a survey there, and I'll show you all here in a second how to get to the website and find the survey. But what that does is the facility will put in their information, and then that'll trigger a potential meeting between the school and Division of Water. And at that point, we'll explain kind of the process. But basically, there'll be an inventory site visit where we'll go in and identify outlets to be sampled. And then that'll be followed up by the actual sampling site visit itself, where we'll collect the water samples. We can also offer any type of training or anything like that to school staff who might be interested at that point. The samples will be analyzed at Kentucky State Environmental Services Lab using a EPA certified method. The results will be made public on our website in addition to providing the school the sample results. The results made public on our website is actually a requirement of the grant, so that's why we have that listed on there. We're going to be ready to sample here in 2023. Again, participation is voluntary. Schools can sign up now, and if you want a little bit more information on some of the kind of the basis of the program, we can offer, like I said, information on the 3 T's guidance. And also, if you want to go ahead and look at potential flushing plans or remediation type things like that, we can do that as well. Okay, so here's where you can sign up. So the first thing you can do is go to Division of Water's website. Under Division of Water's website, you'll actually find the drinking water link there. And then so once you click on the drinking water, you actually will be sent to our drinking water page, and that's where you'll find the Kentucky's Lead in Drinking Water Reduction Program link. So once you click on that, that'll send you to the homepage for the program. There you'll see a lot of information, FAQs, things like that. But then there on the top right of the page, that's where you'll find the participation survey where you can decide to sign up to get more additional information. Like I said, I just want to stress that if you click on the participation survey here, it doesn't automatically lock you in for sampling. It just lets us get the information to reach out to schools and child cares to educate and discuss potential sampling dates. So this is just a copy of what the safely survey looks like. It just starts with basic questions if you're interested in sampling, some information on your facilities, and then all the way down to where you will leave your information, a person of contact, their phone number, email address, and then all that information is sent to me, and that will trigger me to reach out to the person of contact to discuss future information. So this is just kind of an example of remediation guidance. If a school were to participate and get samples that contain, a certain amount of lead in their sample result, anywhere from operational, which would be flushing guidance, things like that, to potential recommendations for point of use filters. We would also potentially reach out to the public water system who sources the school, let them know of the results. And again, like I said, our focus is to continue to work with the school throughout the sampling process. So just one of the examples here would be, for if you were to sample just at a water faucet that might have a small level of lead in there, that could determine that a point of use filter, say like at a kitchen faucet, something like that, could be a way of removing that source contaminant. Okay, so how does this benefit a school? Well, the main thing I want to kind of bring up here at this point is that EPA has recently passed the lead and copper rules revisions. One of the components of the rule is that starting at the end of 2024, public water systems will be required to reach out to schools and child cares and in order to tell them that they'll need to sample at those schools and child cares. Schools and child cares are under the rule allowed to decline this option, but if they want to proceed, then the public water system is required to sample at that school and or child care. The rule right now states that the water system has to sample 20% each year for up to 5 years in order to get 100% of their schools and child cares. And the way the rule states for them is they have to sample 5 samples for each school, and then 2 samples for each child care. So a benefit to the schools right now would be that in 2023 and 2024, if you were to sign up to do this lead sampling through this program, it would be handled by Division of Water and our contracted partner. You know, when water systems are going to be required to go out and sample starting at the end of 2024, they may not be able to provide just the educational resources the way that our program can. Our program also is comprehensive sampling, so we'll not only sample just the required 5 samples, but we'll actually sample at any water outlet that we consider to be something that's used for consumption, or if the school would just like us to sample, we'll sample there. We also, this program offers, again, early education. So, you know, really at any point during this program, we'll provide that information to schools. And we'll also offer mitigation guidance based on results. And the last thing is that I do want to say that there's a potential path for funding for mitigation. Unfortunately, we have not been approved to offer funding for mitigation at this point, but EPA has approved future funds to be used for mitigation, and they're currently working on I guess a guidance document that's going to be able to list what kind of different ways that we'll be able to offer that. But so that's like I said, once want to know that there is a path that might be an option in the future. So just to recap, the reason for the program is that there is no safe level of lead in drinking water. The program focuses on education, remediation guidance, and implementation based on sampling. We want to be able to identify potential problem drinking water outlets in schools and child cares and provide educational opportunities for the schools. Again, it's a preparation for the revised lead and copper rule, and this is just kind of another component of kind of the larger scope by the federal government, which is through the infrastructure bill. You know, there's just a very large emphasis on improving lead reduction in the drinking water community. So that's about it. So I definitely encourage everyone to, if you have any questions, even before you want to sign up, feel free to jot down my email address there, and you can send me an email if any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Gabriel. Yeah, appreciate all the information. Superintendents, please take note of Gabriel's contact information if you'd like to follow up with more questions. We'll turn things over now to Greta Hilton and the folks with our Office of Special Education and Early Learning to talk about some of their efforts. Greta, are you on?
I am. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be with you today to introduce you to some of the work occurring in my office. The work that you're going to hear about today is funded through the American Rescue Plan COVID relief dollars. We know that one of the populations hardest hit by COVID interruptions is students with disabilities. And of that population, our students transitioning into adulthood and post-secondary opportunities may have missed even more than other groups. So through the use of ARP funds, my office has been able to recruit and hire some pretty phenomenal school district staff to help focus on and improve opportunities for these older students. More specifically, the office is focused on helping districts identifying and maximizing opportunities. So today you're going to hear from 2 superintendents, their special education staff, and business and community leaders who are going to tell you more about their experiences and opportunities in working with our ARP transition team. And I jokingly say that we really need a better name for this other than just the ARPT team. Leading our presentation is Dr. Lynn Petrie, who along with Dr. Jason Wheatley is pioneering our work in this area. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Petrie to lead you through the presentation.
I appreciate you very much. Thank you for that introduction. I am here to bring the excitement and to share a little bit of the information around specifically one of the projects that we are currently working on, ARP Transition Team. I tend to enjoy that group name. We came into all this with a specific focus. We wanted to improve transition outcomes for students with disabilities, particularly those impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And we wanted to tie a lot of that with the United We Learn initiative through the Kentucky Department of Education. So this is a project that is going to highlight that work and that initiative, because in the districts, we did a lot of listening, we did a lot of learning, and we're wanting to highlight some of the successful areas that we are currently promoting within those districts. So next slide. I'm sorry, I guess I should instruct you to switch to the next slide beforehand. So that just introduced our purpose and action. The purpose of the project is to promote visibility. Specifically for the students with disabilities, we wanted to give visibility not only within the classroom, but also within their community, to let them know that there are career paths and to let them know the accessibility that will be available to them in their communities. So next slide. Some of the action around this project was just creating a program that encourages these partnerships to take place, specifically between business and industry and education, so that we can create those programs that's accessible if they want to go on and go into the workforce, and just let them know what type of opportunities that are there. Next slide. So who does it benefit? It's going to benefit specifically those students with disabilities. It's going to benefit the students without disabilities as well, because it's going to show empathy that I don't think we get the ability to teach a lot of times in the classroom. Also, it's going to benefit those current and future employees looking for accessible options within the workplace. We're going to try and prepare students to enter post-school readiness certification programs. So we're wanting to get them on that pathway to be successful. Next slide. These are our current partners that we started out with, we're currently working with. Parker Hannafin, which is a Fortune 250 company located in Lexington, Kentucky. They have given us access to their work processes within their industry to help promote diversity for their employees. We also partnered with a community organization, Berea Makerspace. You're going to hear more about these two partners later on in the slides. But what Berea Makerspace does, it exposes the students to current community organizations that's set up that is going to provide career pathways, and also gives our purpose and action teams a way to resource if they have questions, and gives them access to other experts in the fields that they might be thinking about. And one of the networking partners that I have on with us today is Dr. Balser from EKU. She is part of the occupational therapy division there at EKU, and she's going to talk a little bit about the excitement and what brought her or attracted her to this project to be a resource for her. So Dr. Balser.
Thank you, Dr. Petrie. We are very excited to be part of this project, and Dr. Alan Keener and myself will be available to provide resources and feedback for the students that are involved in this project. And this will include information about principles of universal design, but it will also help foster an understanding about the barriers experienced by members of the disability community, whether that's an invisible disability, physical disability, intellectual, or developmental, and and what actually impacts their ability to engage in life fully or engage in productive work. And so I'm really excited about this project because it involves our students in creating solutions to societal barriers and also helps us shift the attitudes about disability and change the definition. So Dr. Petrie, I'm really excited to be part of this project, and I appreciate you thinking of us.
I appreciate it very much. And the other three organizations that you see on there are some that are very common with preparing students for post-school readiness and assisting in resources to help get them in a successful pathway. So we have the Kentucky Career Center Vocational Rehabilitation. We have the Kentucky Protection and Advocacy Group. And we have Kentucky SPIN, which is a parent advocacy group that is going to be involved if the teams have any type of questions, want to brainstorm with them on producing those prototypes and other questions as far as the workplace. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you for sharing that. Next slide. And I want to introduce Tom Cook. He is going to be providing a statement for Parker Hannafin. Unfortunately, they had to hop off before they were able to present, but he is going to introduce us to a statement prepared for them on their excitement about this project as well. So, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Dr. Petrie. Just to introduce myself real quick, I'm a mechanical engineer and the community consultant for this project. Again, Parker Hannafin really wanted to be here to speak for themselves, but they did leave me a statement that they'd like to share. That statement is, thank you for inviting us to speak about the Purpose in Action Challenge. My name is Rebecca Cook, and I am the Division Human Resources Manager for the Parker Hannafin O-Ring and Engineered Seals Division located in Lexington, Kentucky. We were excited to create this unique opportunity with the partner organizations to build a program that could positively impact our potential workforce, our local community, and especially individuals with disabilities. It is the first time in our company's history where we've opened the doors to students and shown what it is truly like to work for Parker Hannafin as an employee. The students received full access to our entire operations and learned about every process in the making of O-rings and seals for customers ranging from NASA and SpaceX rocket parts to Pratt & Whitney engine seals for commercial airliners. The work they will be doing over the current year will make a real impact on our process and enable us to enrich our company's diversity and inclusion. Our entire organization of engineering, manufacturing, business, and human resources teams look forward to interacting with the students and teachers to provide a unique learning experience.
Next slide. Thank you very much. And also, we had Berea Makerspace. You can see the numerous career pathways that are available to students right in their own community. And there's a lot of different regions that have makerspaces. We chose Berea Makerspace to be part of this project. And again, Mr. Cook, as being our community consultant, is going to read a statement provided from Berea Makerspace because they had to hop off for another meeting. So, Mr. Cook, again.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Petrie. So again, the Makerspace is made up of members who have careers themselves. The Makerspace itself is an organization where people with careers get together and work on projects and provide different areas that they can teach other people. So Jess Estridge is a founding member and board member of the Berea Makerspace, a 501c nonprofit located in Berea, Kentucky, and he asked me to share this. The Berea Makerspace is a member-run community workspace that provides access to equipment, technologies, and skills to people interested in broadening their knowledge. Our members come from a diverse range of backgrounds, from blacksmiths, computer programmers, engineers, welders, glassmakers, artists, and woodworkers, to name a few. Each brings a unique talent that they share with others through training and interactions at the Makerspace. This program itself has made a large impact for our members and local community of makers by the investment of our partners. We have had the opportunity to bring additional cutting-edge technologies such as large-scale plasma cutting, advanced welding, fiber and CO2 laser cutting and engraving, industrial machining, and upgraded equipment for accuracy and safety to the space. These additions will allow us to bridge the gap of technology that some schools participating may or may not possess and level the playing field for each of them. We are looking forward to helping bring the students' ideas to reality and make our community more accessible to individuals with disabilities. Dr. Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Next slide, please. So now we get into letting these school districts that are going to be a part of this project, and we have been going strong since August and getting all these different elements in place and getting them started. We have Mr. Adkins, who is going to share for Woodford County High School and their participation. And we also have Tracy Francis, who is the Director of Special Education there. So I'll hand it to Mr. Adkins to tell us a little bit about why they want to be a part of the project.
When Ms. Francis brought this project to me, she knows that STEM and STEAM is very dear to my heart, and it's something that we've tried to put an intentional focus on here in Woodford County, not to mention workforce readiness. We have so many things going on here in the county with that, but just to be able to provide this opportunity to our students with disabilities to lead such a project, it gives them some insight as to what career opportunities and options are available then. It builds that confidence for them that, hey, we can do this, we can be a part of this. So when they move through this project, working up this work cell for Parker Hannafin, to me, it gives them that lifelong, I guess you'd say, ability to problem solve. And that's part of what we just completed working on our profile of a graduate is we want our students to be lifelong learners, but lifelong problem solvers as well. So when faced with the problem, much as to build this work cell, I just think that it's, they'll go through the trial and error process, and then the ability to work with a makerspace. In that makerspace with all the opportunities available there, I feel like it was a win-win for the district. I think it's threefold as to what we see as far as benefits for our district. I think we're building confidence among our students with disabilities, but we're not just building that confidence with them. The students without disabilities are in this project as well. When they have an opportunity to work with a company that's in 49 countries, has 49 different locations in different countries, 55,000 employees. I mean, where do we get that opportunity anywhere else? We don't here in Woodford County. So it's Parker Hannafin has been a big piece of this for us as well. And to build a work cell that we'll be able to keep and use over and over and over with extras with students with future students. To me, that is another win for the district simply because we've got that opportunity now for STEM, STEAM, and problem solving. Our students for the next 3 years may want to see how they can improve upon this. So that's the second piece. And then the third piece is just building that long-lasting partnership and relationship with Parker Hannafin. Just a quality company here locally that without this project, we would have probably never had the opportunity to work with. So that's why it is so important to us here in Woodford County. We're all about workforce readiness and providing opportunities, and we're excited to be able to do this with our students.
I'm fortunate to have Superintendent Adkins support this project. When I brought it to him, one of the questions that we have been asked is how did we choose our team? We are big on a whole school approach here, meaning that we work across our departments for whatever initiatives we have from the top down. And so the first thing I did, I was approached about participation and the opportunity, and then thinking through that a little bit to wrap my head around it, and then met with Lynn and his team a couple of times to wrap my head around it. And because it's such a great opportunity, I was like, am I really understanding that this is truly an opportunity? And so I took that across our hall. We are a small district, so I literally walked across the hall to our other department, to our curriculum and instruction team. I met with Mr. Asher, met with Mr. Atkins. I had already spoke to him about taking it to that team and truly looking at our programs that we already house within our high school and building off of our focus that we currently have. We didn't want to create anything new, but we wanted to build off of what we have. We have some great programs in our high school, but to really focus on that similar experience for us, that was our CTE program. That allows for that hands-on learning, which is what this project is about. But it also allowed for a variety of student population to participate. Students from the gen ed perspective and those with students with disabilities. So you have the non-disabled and the disabled population that could work together. The next thing that we did is we chose a lead teacher. This was very important to the project once we got into it and realized how vast it really truly was. We wanted someone that could ensure that we met timelines and ran the program and project to the fidelity of the purpose of the project. And with that, that includes continue and with that student engagement and encouragement. Student engagement, you know, we are a huge Kagan district. We're big on student engagement, but we needed someone to bring that excitement to our student population to ensure that piece of it. So we chose Mr. Connor Richardson from our high school that works in our CTE program, and it has been a phenomenal experience to watch the students and their level of engagement.
We knew that we needed a doer.
We needed a doer.
Mr. Richardson is a doer, so it was an easy choice.
A doer and a self-driven person. I guess the next piece, you know, the reason, another reason or the main reason I wanted to be a part of this project, when we look at our student population, you have general education and then you have special education. I am tired of the silos. We are tired of the silos. We do not work from silos here in Woodford County. We work from a tier 1 down, and that is all students have access. And that's why I love being here, because it is a small district and we can all truly be a part of that work, walking across the hallway from department to department some days. But really what it does is it allows a generation of students to work together to build that compassion and empathy that's just not there, that we're seeing a lot of the behaviors, I should say, some of the things we're seeing in schools with our office discipline referrals and some of the ongoing issues we have. We need to build that compassion and empathy, and this allows for that generation to work together. The main purpose of that, you know, when a parent comes in kindergarten and they want to know what that K year looks like, and they're so worried about that K year, if I'm meeting with that parent, I tell them this: I am so worried about that K year, but I'm looking for 12 years, because my job is to prepare your child for life and to be a member of their community and society. And so this gives the opportunity for these kids to work together in a team, build that team perspective and approach, and leave us and go to their community and continue that work in their community and build from that, because we have to build the workforce. And looking at the profile of a graduate, that's where we are. We need to look at what we are doing to support our kids after they leave us. I guess kind of just recap all of that. When they, you know, the other thing I will say is it allows them to have those different perspectives with that compassion and empathy, and look at that universal design for, hey, I may be facing these adversities in life, but they may be facing this set of adversities, and how can we come together? And that goes right back to superintendent, you know, our superintendent's statement about problem-solving skills. It builds that empathy, compassion, and builds a set of problem-solving skills that will help them problem solve throughout life, hopefully. Hands-on learning, work ethic, builds a resume, an individual resume for these students, for a local community business. That is a huge opportunity for our students. And it also allows students to learn how to advocate for themselves and for each other.
In closing, real quick, I'd like to just speak to the trust that I place in Ms. Francis every day. I look at these 3,906 students, which is what we had today enrolled, at these 3,906 students as my students, as my children. And I know she does as well. And I trust her with those. And I will say she has all the ability in the world, all the knowledge that it takes to be a successful dose, but she also has the biggest heart for children. And I think that's always important when we're out here trying to help kids, trying to give them opportunities and provide them what they need to be lifelong learners and to be successful in life. So I trust her, no doubt whatsoever.
Well, I appreciate you all sharing. And with that said, we're going to go to our next district that's also participating on the next slide. We have Dr. Hatchett. She is going to be sharing for Berea Community High School. And I just want to say that I so appreciate the two districts that have taken on this project and challenge. And it's really you all that's going to bring this to life. So, Dr. Hatchett, you want to speak on Berea?
All right. Thank you. And for us, it's really near and dear to all of our hearts, but especially for me, I take it personal when it comes to students. I mean, I love all kids, but I have a brother who has special needs, and so special education is near and dear to my heart. We have a large special education population at Berea Community Schools, and for us, this is an opportunity to create a direct pipeline from school to business and industry with our students. It's a wise investment. It's a win-win. You're highlighting the largest minority group that's out there that sometimes gets overlooked, or they feel that way sometimes. We have an opportunity to create equitable access for all, partnerships, trust, and relationships, student engagement with regular ed and special ed, opportunities to work together, and a connection for students to have personalized learning as well as individualized learning experiences. They can take risk and do it in a safe environment and learn from it. We always talk about promoting a growth mindset at Berea Community Schools, and this is an opportunity for our kids to do that. They can collaborate with school, business, industry. You've got post-secondary with EKU, and you've got our community. You've got Berea Makerspace. Another thing with Parker Halfland, it started way back in Berea. There was Parker Halfland back in the 50s, and our current mayor, who is an alumni of Berea Community Schools, his grandfather bought Parker Halfland to Berea. So that also makes it special because we have that kind of a connection with them when we think of it that way. Even though it's moved to Lexington now, we still feel that connection. And we're looking for ways to always promote inclusion through innovative practices, authentic discussions, and communication with diverse learners. And this is an opportunity to do that. This allows us to enhance our rapport with the community as well as within to create those, like I said, innovative practices. And as a result, our students have confidence, and that impacts their social emotional learning, which is really important, especially post-COVID. You see all the impacts and stressors with kids. We want to do something that's going to build them up, uplift them, and challenge them. And this design challenge with the community promotes confidence across the board between business, industry, and the schools. And we're working hand in hand. And when businesses and communities work with the schools, that's a win-win for everyone. It strengthens our economy at the very end. Our kids come out, they have an opportunity to get their certification right here at school. Their families can come in and get certification. We'll have that sale to practice on, and to actually be certified with Parker Halfland is huge. Our students are leaders. We always want to instill leadership into our students. And what better way of that than to have them model the way by creating an opportunity with this sale to be the change that they want to see in the world. We talk about inclusion on every scale that way, and we can have that with shared learning with our kids. And it's a win-win. At Berea Community Schools, our number one goal is student success for every student every day. And we want our kids to continuously improve in their work. We want to challenge them with opportunities for personalized learning. And we want them to have a growth mindset and to be equity minded. We also talk to our kids about teamwork. And we all know that teamwork makes the dream work. In this case, it's teamwork with, like I said, with business, community, and the school. There's shared responsibility. We have an emphasis on CTE. We've expanded our programs this year. STEM is always important to us. And like I said, this is the way of the future. It's innovation. It creates opportunities for creativity, diversity of thought, mutual learning and respect. It's opportunity to enhance compassion, empathy, and understanding. We always tell kids that we're a leader in me district, so we say seek first to understand before being understood. We talk about beginning with the end in mind, being proactive, and thinking win-win. All of that comes to play with this. We have safe conditions for our students to work together and problem solve. I mean, and just, they think of each other as teammates. I know John F. Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is something that we can do not only for here in Berea, but this model can take place. It's also in Woodford. It can go across the state and maybe nationwide. It's the greater good when we see the opportunities to work together. I just think it's a win-win. And as far as taking the lead with our district, we feel like this project right here is an exciting transition for us. It's an opportunity to align so well with many of the things that we're doing at Berea Community Schools with post-secondary education, making it available to all students, regular ed, special ed. One feature that makes us really excited is that it targets not only students with disabilities, but without disabilities, working them together along with the community. And when we have that need for awareness and accessibility, and we often think about having a lot of programs that make it fit for the person, instead of making the job accessible to the person. We try to fit people in a box, and this does just the opposite. And it allows our kids to actually be able to design this. And this can be a difference with a person with a disability being successful in completing job tasks that they may not necessarily have qualified for otherwise, by looking at it from a different lens. I see that, like I said, I've seen it up close and personal. I've seen it with my family. I've seen those struggles. And so I love this idea, this approach. When we have involved so many different community partners who already have a relationship with our school district, we can maybe impact changing mindsets and helping those people who might be possible future employers to look at hiring people with disabilities with not as something different, not as a burden, but this is something that maybe people can embrace, a mindset change, a paradigm shift. It can be powerful to any community. This project has longevity with it. This can be duplicated next year. We can bring on a different partner and can keep going. But this work still, provides all kinds of possibilities and continuation. We can even build on this design challenge. It's a chance for students' work to be highlighted, for kids to be work ready and available for hiring at the industry. I mean, they can graduate and have that certification. How cool is that? We can grow all kinds of possibilities, and lists of employers and students can be trained right here in school. I mean, we've got a captive audience right there. We can teach them the soft skills that they need. We're always asking, industry, what is it you need? Well, now they're telling us we're working hand in hand, and that's a win-win. There's no losses to that. It helps the job, the workforce, the community. I mean, I don't see anything but good that can happen for that. And we used a committee approach to establish our team and sponsors. We have several programs whose goals align to the work and create post-secondary opportunities for our students. So we took staff that were working with those programs that had a committee already to guide the project. So we have our JAG program, and we also have 21st Century. And so we combined the teachers, the director of 21st Century with our director for JAG, and they stepped up to co-lead this project, and they continued it with help from other community members. And our goal was to involve as many students as possible. And this allowed us to do that because we've got 21st Century focuses a lot on STEM. And then we've got our JAG students getting ready for workforce development and trying to be ready to hit the ground running. So that was a win-win to have those two groups collaborate together and kind of co-create. And so that allows the core team members to incorporate other school groups that way who see themselves as leaders and can advocate for people with disabilities, because all students have abilities. It's just up to us to tap into that potential and open up the doors. And this is an opportunity for us to build a work-ready community right here at Berea Community School coming out of the gate. And it aligns with our profile of a graduate. It allows our kids to have self-advocacy skills. And it's a win for everybody across the board. And our dose, Jennifer Witt, hats off to her. She's a champion for kids. She bought this idea to me, and she was excited about it. She talked about all the opportunities that it could bring for our kids. And anytime we can do anything to help even one child, it makes all the difference in the world, because it's a trickle-down effect and it's contagious. And that's what we're all about. Jennifer is a champion for kids. She's been in our district for 22 years, and I appreciate her leadership, her knowledge of special education, and her willingness to do whatever it takes to make a difference in the lives of our kids. And that's what it takes. It takes a heart for kids. Somebody's going to be a champion, and it takes a team effort. And like I said, I'm proud to be part of Berea Community Schools. I'm part of this community. I'm also thankful to KDE, and I'm thankful to Parker Hanflin and everybody who's making this opportunity for us.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I feel like I'm in church now. Just
I get
feel all
carried away
excited.
when
Yeah,
it
I
comes
love
to
it.
kids.
I love
I'm
it.
sorry.
I want you to share that excitement and everything. That's great. I love hearing the excitement from both districts. And with that, I'll go to my next slide. And as you can see, everybody's excited. The United We Learn, we want to capture these 4 different areas of vibrant experiences, which is what you've heard about, the innovative ideas and strategies that goes along with that, with the universal design and increasing accessibility. We wanted to increase community involvement. I think we've done that with this project, and just the investment that we are getting from industry, that we're getting from community. They are wanting to be part of us in education. And I think this is a real way to make that happen, and a unique way to make that happen. But I really think this is just the beginning for this. Next slide. We are getting the word out. Parker Hannafin, with their release of their newsletter, went to 49 countries, 55,000 employees. Kentucky Teacher, with the release of the project itself. And with that, with the next slide, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what the project actually is. You've heard all the excitement. It's like a suspenseful thriller here. So each team, or each district, has a purpose and action team. They are being tasked with designing and creating a prototype work cell that is accessible for individuals with disabilities. So they are doing this with Parker Hannafin this year. So next slide. How it all works is that we are the team that's been assigned is going to come in and lead modules to the purpose and action teams at the districts. We're going to be talking about work cell modules, what it consists of, efficiency. We're going to be talking about disability awareness. So we're actually coming in and actually helping the district teams to acquire all that. We're going to have question and answer sessions. We're going to have activities that go along with those with the project. So next slide. A brief overview. The teams are going to be presented with an accessible design challenge from Parker. So they've done the tour of Parker Hannafin to see the work cell that they're going to be working on. We've already done the disability awareness section or module. So giving them the resources so they can reach out and ask questions if need be on their brainstorming sessions. We are just now getting into the problem solving modules that are going to come along with this. And you'll see the timeline at the end of this presentation that's going to have the prototyping and design. And then they'll have the final design where they are presenting to representatives to judge the criteria on their finished work cells. Next slide. And I'm going to hand it back over to Mr. Cook to talk briefly about the work cell, how they're going to make it accessible, and some of the things that the purpose and action teams are going to be looking at. So, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Petrie. So I'm going to talk very briefly about this, and if you need to contact us about any of this information later, we're happy to discuss it with you. When we looked at Parker Hannafin, we broke through the processes and determined a process that would best fit for people with disabilities, and that was done through the KDE OCL office along with Parker Hannafin itself. We determined this process to be the sorting process. This is an inspection process where each O-ring is checked for any defects before it's packaged and sent on to the customers. And so the students right now, it's an operator, it's a fully manual process. They sit and do this as part of their job every day. And there's a wide array of defects they're looking for. The current process is very, it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to train. And so the students have a huge opportunity here to completely change how it functions. Next slide. So as Lynn talked about, when we went through the disability, we're going to have the students focus on the types of recognized disabilities. We talked through them with the common challenges for individuals with a disability, and they had activities that kind of put that into perspective. Next, when we go through this next section that we'll be teaching here in the next couple of weeks, they're going to see unseen challenges for individuals with disability. We're going to focus on that a little bit more. And then for how can we design to create a more inclusive world? And just a quick thing on that. I was an engineer for 20 years for a Fortune 500 company. As an engineer, we never designed for anyone with a disability. We designed specifically for the average person, 5'8", can sit, stand, function normally. We'd never, ever think of designing for someone that does not fit that mold. So this program flips everything upside down of every way that any engineer has ever taught how to design. So that's why we're so excited about it. Next slide. This DMAIC, some of you may or may have not heard this. This is a business proven process that's used across most Fortune 500 companies to problem solve and come up with a design and implement that design and then control the design going forward. So when we teach this to the students, which we will be teaching between Thanksgiving and Christmas break, this is something they will see in the work world, no matter what position they're at in their companies. So they're going to see really how it's done in the business world. And we're breaking this down into simple steps so they can understand it. And then if they want to learn more, they can move on and learn more in these areas. And this basically teaches you how to problem solve and put a solution in place that is going to work. Next slide. Prototyping. After we come up with those solutions and we determine that they can work, the students become prototyping, and that's where the Berea Makerspace will come in. The students are going to physically make prototypes. They're going to come up with an idea. We're going to put it into a design that's, 3D model engineering type design, and it'll be created on some of these machines, laser cutters, 3D printers, and each student will be able to use and take their design and actually put something in their hand and see if it works. So it's that full circle of, I thought it, we had the problem, we solved it, I made it, did it work, right? That's the real world. That's how it works. Is it going to work? If it doesn't work, how do I fix it to work? Or maybe it doesn't work and we need to move on to a new idea. So that's why it's so exciting to bring prototyping to the schools of real work, real ideas. Next slide. And then final design. And this is easy to explain. So all these students have all these ideas in each area of the design to make this work cell function, where all we're going to do is bring those together so they work with each other. So, one student may be able to hold the O-ring in place while another student has designed something to look at the O-ring. And now those two pieces will fit together and work together. Then that is the final design. So we take all the students' ideas, put them together, and then they'll do the presentation. Next slide. The judging criteria, again, here is not anything that's normally judged in work or anything like that. Our criteria, number one, is the most inclusive team. What does your team look like? How many students with disabilities are part of that? How many are part of that organization? What's the section of your school that are working on this? And both schools have done a fabulous job of bringing those students together so far to work on the project. We are just so excited with what we see from the students that we worked with already. Second is the diverse team, like I talked about. What does your team look like? What's the range of people on the team? And the third one is easy, quality output. When you design something simple, it works. It's easy to use. It produces a quality output. So those are criteria. Basically, we're going to ask them to, I want you to sort and present how many O-rings are good and bad on your equipment. And that's what we're looking for. Next slide. And finally, the project timeline. As you can see, we started this back in September, kicking off. We've gone through tours. We're now in the school session where we're in schools. We're teaching disability modules with the schools teams. We've gone through, we're going to go into the DMAIC module. We're going to begin prototyping. And then as we go into the next year, early January, March is the hands-on. We're really going to get deep into it. April, May, they'll finish up their designs and present them to Parker Hannafin. And then those designs from both from Berea and Woodford will be judged, and a winner will be awarded. Then they're moved to Parker Hannafin. Parker Hannafin engineers take all the best ideas from both designs, create a work cell, test that work cell in production, and then make copies of that work cell that is identical to what they put in production back to the schools. And that's where along with the documentation required to get workplace certification. So the students train on that, they pass the test required on it, they're guaranteed to be able to be qualified and work at Parker-Hannifin. And since Parker-Hannifin is a Fortune 250, every company knows them across this area, across the state. Thank you. Dr. Petrie?
Thank you very much. And that finishes us up. I appreciate the platform. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, OCL team. Thank you to the teams from Woodford County and Berea Independent and from Parker Engineering. Fascinating project. And hopefully superintendents, it gave you some ideas of some things you might try in your district. Also, I want to recognize that we have lots of efforts like this happening across the state, but this was one that KDE was really involved in supporting the launch and following through on that with some of the COVID dollars that we had. So we thought it was just a really fascinating example of how students could be involved in hands-on design and do something in partnership with community and do some things that replicated the kinds of complex work that kids will do when they leave our schools. And toward that end, we've got Rob Smith on, who's leading the deeper learning work with our regional cooperatives, sort of thinking about how we can bring that kind of project to scale of what it might look like. So Rob, I'll turn things over to you. I know you've got some members of your team on to give us an overview of the work that's happening with the co-ops in the state and invites superintendents into this work in their context.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. It's we're going to keep it's hard to follow Dr. Hatchett. I'm going to keep up that energy though. With the deeper learning, it's a great segue because when you hear about what's happening, as you said, in Woodford or Berea, this has deeper learning tenants all over it. So we're excited to partner with all districts and do this work. I'm going to share my screen, do a brief introduction, and then turn it over to some of the boots on the ground. Let's see. How's that? Does that work?
It's good. We can see it.
Good. So I am representing the Kentucky Association of Educational Cooperatives. Most folks know that they are a part of a cooperative. And as a collective, KAEC is kind of the umbrella for all of those cooperatives, and we are heading up some deeper learning work. So who we are, if you look at those green dots, those are the regional cooperative offices across the state. And our mantra, our motto is a regional approach for a statewide impact. And I think you're going to hear today from some of the folks that are making that impact happen. Here are our 4 pillars. You see that our work is really centered around accountability assessment, instructional design, community partnerships, and equitable systems. And finally, here's our definition, which I will not read to you, but the one word in that is transfer. And it's really about taking, working with our kids, developing skills and dispositions, and putting them in situations where they can transfer their learning to new situations. So I'm going to introduce our group to you. From KEDC, we have Abby Labor. She is our deeper learning lead. From KVEC, Kentucky Valley, we have Johnny Belcher. And from Southeast South Central, we have Renee Hibbert and Angie Keene. And they're all going to talk today about kind of what's going on in their regions. We're covered east of I-75 today. So we're gonna listen to what they have to say about what's going on. And we're going to start with Abby.
Hey everyone, I'm Abby Francis Labor. I'm our CRISA Deeper Learning Coordinator at KEDC, and I will be as brief as possible, but I just wanted to give an update on some of the things we've been doing or what's going on in the future at KEDC. And if your district hasn't yet engaged in some of these opportunities, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'll put my contact info in the chat so we can see where there's a good insertion point for your district leaders to get on board. So on December 2nd, we are wrapping up our series of KEDC and UK Next Gen Deeper Learning Leadership Academy. So we focused on administrators at the building or district level. And our driving question through that work was, how can we reimagine the student experience to be more meaningful, relevant, and inspiring so that every student is equipped for a successful future? So it really, I feel like this is a nice segue from the things that we were just talking about that some of our district partners shared. So we focused on science of learning, portrait of a learner in past sessions. We have had flat Stanleys kind of from each district where we charged our administrators with going back to the district and having their flat Stanleys and tweeting or using social media to share evidence of deeper learning in their district. We have talked about topics of how to strategically and compellingly engage the hearts and minds of teachers and other educators and the community and get them behind this work. Our administrators that are partaking in this are completing empathy interviews in their district, and we'll come back and review those and analyze that data and talk about performance assessments at our next one. Our next meeting, what we're excited about, because it's an exhibition of learning where we talk about that normally for students. We're having the administrators do that to share some of the learning that they have gained through this process, and then what's happening in their district and what their plans are to go next. So after that, we've launched a deeper learning community of practice that will start in January, and we will meet 5 times the rest of the year. And we really want that to be like an immersive experience for the teachers or other district personnel that come, where they can have practices, or we can really put them in the place of those students to experience different learning opportunities that they could take back to their district and implement, and then also have time to network and discuss. So we have registration for that happening now, and that can be found on our website or any of our social media. We're also going to be piloting a deeper learning virtual series that will start after Christmas. That will kind of focus on simple shifts that teachers or schools can make, that sometimes deeper learning seems intimidating. It seems like a big thing. And we really want to focus on the little baby steps that are simple shifts in their thinking or in the classroom experience. So we're excited to partner with Round County Schools. They're going to be hosting an exhibition of learning. They've had some of their related arts and elective teachers that have really leaned into project-based learning, and one of their elementary schools has participated in the PBL Works, PBL 101, and the Project Slice for administrators this summer. And they have some teachers that are doing some great things with project-based learning, and they're going to host, the teachers are doing an exhibition of learning and opening it up to other teachers in the district or region. So if you are interested in making it over to Moorhead on January 19th, everyone is invited to attend. And those teachers are going to be set up and sharing kind of what they've learned in this first year of piloting project-based learning in their classrooms, and share some of their experiences to hopefully inspire other educators to make that change. Also, we have some site visits to some different schools coming up across Kentucky that we're going to take some of our community of practice members on, or our Leadership Academy admins, because we want to show off the great things happening in our state and to inspire them to take that. So now, after being on this call, I know some other places I can call on and see if we can come visit. But we're having a great time. We've partnered with some wonderful the deeper learning approved vendors that we're hosting here, and we're super excited to be able to offer those for free at our Ashland office and our Lexington office. And so I hope that we can continue to offer more of those incredible professional learning opportunities at no charge to our districts, thanks to this grant and this initiative.
Thank you, Abby. I'll just jump in right here before Johnny begins to talk about KVEC. We are, as you saw or you see on the screen there, we have a website for Kentucky Association of Educational Cooperatives at KAEC 8, and that will be a one-stop shop for all professional learning. So if anybody can go onto that site and get professional learning from any of the 8 cooperatives with registration links included. So it's a great one-stop shop for all things deeper learning. And with that, we'll talk about Kentucky Valley with Johnny Belcher.
Hello, everyone. Yes, like Rob said, I'm Johnny Belcher. I'm with Kentucky Valley Educational Co-op. I just want to first say that we're just so proud to represent and serve the Kentucky River Valley educators. As many of you know, this area was tragically hit by unprecedented flooding, and here I yet still find myself on November 15th talking about a kickoff we had on November 2nd for the Deeper Learning with 80 plus educators in attendance and Deeper Learning coaches and superintendents and principals there, and more coaches coming into play. And this is all after the loss of schools, the flooding of schools, and not only that, but educators themselves losing their homes. And so I just can't say enough good things about educators here in the Kentucky River Valley, but I also know that their resolve is mirrored across our state and across our nation. And just sometimes when we get a little down and think there's not much good in the world, it's things like this that help us be reminded that there certainly still is. And so our kickoff on November 2nd, we partnered with Dr. Harvey Silver and team, and they did a wonderful job on that day, helping us to start this journey of what we're calling KVEC's Pathway to Deeper Learning. One of our big questions that day is why deeper learning now? And what we find after a pandemic, after a flood, is even after all of this tragedy and all these obstacles, we find that our educators are actually looking for some sense of normalcy. They're actually looking for a flag to get behind with their professional learning and to re-engage in this process of getting our students ready for their futures. And so I kind of liken it, if you will, an analogy that right now more than ever, every swing of the hammer has to be on point and driving the spike even further. And this is the way that we look at with the deeper learning. We really believe this can be a flag that folks can rally behind and do that. We look at deeper learning as a broad brushstroke, if you will. We look at it also as instructional tools and strategies, because, you know, the one thing that we always hear from the classroom is that teachers are hungry for instructional tools and strategies. If you will, we want to help the teachers through this initiative and their deeper learning coaches as their leads to be the best version of a teacher they can be, if you will, to be ninja teachers, to know all those tools and where to use them most appropriately and efficiently. And so we're really trying to paint the picture of deeper learning in this way, that it's everything about teaching that is good, and that we need to be focused more than ever. But most of all, deeper learning is doable because classroom teachers, like I heard Abby say, can sometimes be overwhelmed by new initiatives. And so we feel like we've gotten a good start with that. Like I said, November 2nd kickoff took place with Dr. Harvey Silver and team. KVEC's Pathway to Deeper Learning is a 3-phase approach. Phase 1 will be learning, phase 2 action research, and phase 3 deeper learning at scale. And so this next semester, much like Abby described what's happening in KEDC, it's all about the learning phase. We want teachers to have a time to not just simply be thrown into this initiative with no time to process. We don't ask that of our students. We know that that's not good practice in the classroom. And so we want to have time for them to have some foundational learning. And so we partnered also with the department's Division of Innovation, like I said, Dr. Harvey Silver and team, to help provide some foundational pieces this next semester for the learning phase of our pathway to deeper learning. February 22nd, like Dr. Smith said, a lot of these will be on the calendar on the CAKE website, but the Division of Innovation will have a day of learning for us here at KVEC around Kentucky innovation and things like United We Learn, Portrait of a Graduate, things that many of you are already involved in, but many that are not involved in L3 groups and things like that, we find that they may not know as much about some of the innovation that's happening around Kentucky. We look forward to having Dr. Glass on that day, February 22nd, to learn with him as well. And so learning phase this next semester, action research that goes through next year, and then finally deeper learning at scale, where we hope to have 80 plus deeper learning coaches that are actually helping to lead professional learning within their district. So we're very excited about that. I could talk all day about this, but I just wanted to give you an update. We are just thrilled to be a part of this. And so January 18th will begin our next phase. And we just thank you for the opportunity to be here today and share that with you. And please reach out if you want to be part of that with us as well.
Thank you, Johnny. Great stuff going on in Kentucky River Valley. I failed to mention earlier that although we have 8 co-ops, we have 11 leads. So a couple have 2, and as we move down around to the southeast, we have. I'm a '70s kid, so I grew up with the Wonder Twins, and we have a modern day version of that with Renee and Angie. They are fantastic, and they make up the team for the Southeast South Central Co-op. And I'll let them tell you what's going on there.
Thanks, Rob. We've been called lots of things. Not quite sure that we've been called the Wonder Twins, though. We are actually sitting in the same office, and we had a little feedback there. Is it okay now? Okay. We just wanted to share a few things that's going on in Southeast South Central region. We're always proud to showcase the work that's going on here with our districts. And with SESC and preparing for positive outcomes with the deeper learning work, we really leveraged a lot of the lessons that we've learned through our years of immersion into KDE's active implementation. We were a TZ zone there, and we have taken a lot of those lessons and thought through how we could roll out this deeper learning and try to get the most impact with our implementation. With AI's framework, we learned that teaming is one of the best ways to make sure that we are improving outcomes for kids. And so because of that, we've asked each one of our districts to create a deeper learning team, and we are calling those deeper learning coaches. And we asked them to come meet with us once a month, and we have been doing that since July. We had our first meetings in July. Each meeting has had at least 120 educators at those meetings. We have hybrid meetings some months when we can get a venue large enough, we will have face-to-face meetings. And in those meetings, we have partnered with Thoughtful Classrooms, so KVEC. We have partnered with Harvey Silver and Friends as well. And they have been actually working with us to plan for those meetings to share very practical strategies that promote deeper learning, that our teams and coaches can take back and share and coach and make sure that those get down to student levels to impact that student experience. Because at SESC, we have really developed our coaching systems over the past few years. My name is Angie Keene, by the way, and I am also an instructional coaching lead, so you'll get to hear that. But during our work with instructional coaching, we found that many of our school districts have coaches, but we haven't had a lot of opportunities for those coaches to be trained in coaching practice. So we thought this was a really good opportunity to embed some coaching training. And our districts in our feedback have actually said that they really have enjoyed having that, to be able to learn how to have those conversations with teachers, take these practices back, and help teachers to be able to implement those into their classroom. And just like the rest of the co-ops, you know, our overall goal is that we want to make this a system. We want this to be an approach that creates positive change for our teachers, and ultimately changing that student experience and having a good, positive student experience for every kid in our classrooms. And we have asked Barry Lee, he's the superintendent of Casey County, and actually has been at, I dare to say, I think he has been at all of our deeper learning meetings. And we have asked him to just speak just a little bit on how this has impacted his team and the work that's going on there in Casey County. Barry.
Thank you, Angela. I do want to say I appreciate the support from the Southeast South Central Cooperative. Angela Keene and Renee Hibbert have just been fantastic in supporting us. And part of this initiative really focused on something that I wanted to do in the district of that Angela mentioned, of making sure that our curriculum coaches have an understanding of how to coach our teachers to be effective, to move into that deep learning concept. And the program is set up to where we do have some hybrid, there's face-to-face, and then also some virtual supports. And we also have supports in district with Leah Markham. She's with the cooperative as well. And they're coming in and providing that support that we need with the thoughtful classroom. And again, our focus is in our district is bringing in the total participation techniques similar to the Kagan strategies, but teaching our coaches how to effectively communicate with our teachers when they need that additional support to engage our students, because we know that's the biggest bang for our buck and in getting into those classrooms and providing that support. So again, just a great initiative. And I really don't even like to use the term initiative. I want it to be something that we truly instill in our teachers, that it is a part of education, that we want our students to be engaged. But this has been a big support to us. We do meet monthly in district with all of our curriculum coaches and our district leadership team, then also moving into the Southeast South Central meeting. So again, kudos to Kay Dixon and Angela Keene and Renee Hibbert and Leah Markham for your support to our school districts. Just if you're not a part of this in your co-op, I would encourage you to reach out and get some information to see how you can tie this in with your plan for your school district.
Thanks so much, Barry. We appreciate you coming and providing us a little insight into the impact that deeper learning has had in Casey County. We appreciate that. A couple of other things real quick. We do want to make sure that we share some of the other little pieces that we're doing that have made such a huge difference in the way things are rolling out at Southeast South Central. Each district is involved, that's involved in deeper learning, is being encouraged to develop a practice profile, which is a piece of the active implementation science. And the reason for that is to help ensure that all district team members have a very clear understanding of the goals and the outcomes of that initiative that each district has selected. This practice profile not only gives a clear definition, but it provides guidance to all the team members on the key elements and the indicators that are in place for their deeper learning initiative to assist the team members to monitor and measure the growth towards those deeper learning practices. To ensure alignment with our mission of elevating both teaching and learning through collaboration, Southeast South Central has assigned a co-op staff member to serve as a navigator to each district team, deeper learning team. So when Barry mentioned Leah Markham, that is their deeper learning navigator in Casey County. The navigator's role primarily involves coaching the deeper learning teams in charting their own course, guiding those adjustments as necessary, and helping them measure that growth toward the overall goal of the more student-centered classroom. We have found that the navigators in our plan have been very beneficial for our district in keeping things lined up. Overall, we're just very impressed with the growth that we've seen so far in our district teams that are involved in our statewide deeper learning movement. Rob, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thank you so much, and thanks, Superintendent Lee. What he said there, he doesn't like saying initiative, and neither do we. We like to use the word movement, that this is finally the movement we're looking for, and this is a movement we can all get behind. Our coaches, as you've heard, our leads and our coaches are well versed, and we are looking to meet districts where they are. And there are a number of entry points, whether that be a profile of a graduate or maybe you want to get into project-based learning. We definitely have a partnership with PBL Works. All in all, in sum, we are trying to create those vibrant student experiences. And we have what I call the dream team here. This is 4 of the 11, or 4 of the 27, I should say, but dream team is ready to help all districts, and we're excited about the work. So thank you, Commissioner, for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you all. Incredible review of the work that's happening with our co-ops. I'm so impressed and excited about this. Rob, thank you for bringing everyone on and for sharing some of the things that are happening. I have just a couple of reflections based on the last 2 presentations that we heard. One is that if you look back, the education policy landscape that's dominated most of our lives, most of our professional lives, if you're working now, has been the No Child Left Behind era. And that was enacted in 2001. And about 20 years ago, about this time, all across the country, states were starting to struggle with how do we do this? With the goals around having a system of clear, high standards, academic standards in place, having a system of tests that would measure those standards, and a system of accountability that was related to that. Those were some of the major planks behind No Child Left Behind. And if you look at where we are now, there have been lots of twists and turns along the way, but you have to give President Bush and Senator Kennedy credit. Their vision largely has come into reality all across the country. If they wanted a system of tests and measures, a uniform system of standards, or nearly uniform system of standards, and a system of accountability, that's been accomplished. So that's the impact. And back in 2001, we were a long way from doing that as a country. But that's the impact of 20 years of focused effort. So I ask everybody to think about, what if we're at the beginning of a new era, and all of us have a part to play in that? But 20 years from now, if we focus on deeper learning and student experience, how will that be different? I think if we look backwards, you can see that you can make a hell of a lot of progress if you focus on something for a long time. And I will go further to say that the impacts on student learning, on real student learning, and the futures for kids in Kentucky and all across this country have the potential to be dramatically different and better because of this kind of work. So I'm excited about that. So take heart. We're all playing a part in this, and I'm excited about where things are headed in Kentucky. One other element that I'll just put forth as a challenge for everyone is for us to think about the concept of deeper learning and what that means. Because I think that's one of the things that we struggle with as a country and here in Kentucky and district to district is, what is this? So we've tried to put some parameters around that to say, well, problem and project-based learning is one form of deeper learning. That's not the only form of it, but it's one form of it. It's what it might look like. You've seen some of the efforts that were happening in Woodford County and in Berea Independent as another sort of example of deeper learning. But if you've been in classrooms where students have gone beyond just the memorization and acquisition of content, maybe even something as old as Socratic method, where students are debating and thinking and critically evaluating information and coming up with different arguments, those are forms of deeper learning as well. And so if you need a way to engage in this conversation with your school boards, with your communities, with your teachers, an easy way to start that is to just ask the question, what is deeper learning? And then facilitate a discussion about it. And I think that's a positive thing too. We don't have to define exactly what it is right now, but we should be working toward that goal and moving in that direction. The last thing I'll say, just in reflection of what we've experienced today, is that it's really difficult to do in these sort of webinar formats. And one of the things that we are experiencing in terms of the outcomes that we have on our state assessments, the unfinished learning, the disruptions to learning, was that we know that this form of communication, this form of interaction isn't the same as what we can do in person. Some kids thrive in this environment, certainly, and we all did what we thought was right and all that we could with the resources that we had. But it's difficult to really facilitate a deeper learning experience in this kind of format. But I'd also challenge you, and one of the things that I heard in what our co-ops are doing, and in what we heard from the project that our Office of Special Education and Early Learning is facilitating, is there's an intentional effort to create deeper learning experiences for adults. An intentional effort to create deeper learning experience for adults. Because folks, adults are part of the problem here. And part of that is that as adults, a lot of us haven't experienced what this looks like in a formal education setting. So we put all this pressure and start talking about we need deeper learning experiences for our students. We get a lot of blank stares because we had a lot of personal experiences sitting and getting and receiving information and focusing on memorizing. And so that's a lot of what you see in schools when you visit them today. There's certainly wonderful examples of deeper learning. You've seen a couple of them here. When I visit schools, I always look for and find examples of deeper learning. But I also find a lot of adults that are struggling with what it means because they haven't experienced it themselves. So in the opportunities that you have to bring people together, to bring the adults together, to bring the teachers and the staff together, think about how can you create deeper learning experiences for them, so that they start thinking about how can they do that for their students. Thank you, Rob and the co-op team. Thank you, everybody that was on presenting with us today. Tony, I don't know that we have any questions that have come in. Maybe we've just worn them down at this point.
I think it's possible. I had one come in on ARPESSER, but we'll field that one out. So I think we're in good shape. I'll go ahead and share that last slide, which is the date of our next superintendent webcast. I think we're going to get back to hopefully I'm on the right page. Yes, I am. Okay. We're going to get back to our format of meeting on the second Tuesday of every month. We had the election and we had test scores and all sorts of other stuff happening in the last couple of months. But looking forward to getting back to our second Tuesday of every month. And so it'll be December 13th from 2 to 4 p.m. You all should be receiving a calendar invite for that moment, probably within the next couple of days.
Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the week. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next month.